Hello students, today let's start the rest of the part of energy which a liquid can possess. As you know that liquid can possess three types of energy. First is pressure energy, potential energy and simple kinetic energy. Pressure energy arises due to the height and due to the pressure at the simple depth and at a point on the depth. And other things means if definitely there is some depth or there is some height of the liquid column, then that liquid column will apply some pressure to the depth point at anywhere. So due to that depth, there will be some work done. If there will be attachment of tank with that vessel or other things, so it will apply some force and pressure. So that pressure is known as simply pressure energy. And yesterday I've already told you that, and simple pressure energy per unit volume is equal to the atmospheric pressure. Okay. So today let's see what will be the potential energy of the fluid and what will be the potential energy, kinetic energy of the fluid. So simply you know that potential energy of the fluid arises due to the position, due to the position of any point at some height or depth. And suppose that if m is the mass of the simple liquid taken and h to h any height h, we are measuring, we are calculating the potential energy, then definitely that will becomes to mgh from the sea level. So we can also calculate potential energy per unit mass, that will be obviously g into h, and potential energy per unit volume will be rho g h. Clear? Simple. Actually I'm calculating this point. This will help you later to derive a Bernoulli theorem and to state for the statement of Bernoulli theorem. So for that I am doing the here. So potential energy is simply, I think, clear to you. And you know that kinetic energy of the liquid will be half mv square if v is the velocity of liquid through which it is moving and m is the simple mass of the liquid taken. Then definitely kinetic energy per unit mass will be half v square, or you can also calculate kinetic energy per unit volume, that will be half rho v square. So these three energies basically liquid possesses. And let's see the, and also one more thing is here, all these three types of energies are convertible to each other. So let's see will they be conserved or not, means total energy of the fluid will be conserved or not. So this is given by conservation of this is given by. So firstly let's see what is the statement of Bernoulli theorem. Actually Bernoulli theorem simply states that the all three types of energy which is possessed by liquid per unit mass will be same at every point on the cross section. Means if you will draw any cross sectional area, then for every particle and for every point lies in that cross sectional area, for an ideal liquid, the sum of all three energies, means pressure energy, potential energy plus kinetic energy per unit mass, will be constant always, or same for all particles which are passing through that cross sectional area. Means simple. Again I want to tell you that statement is very simple. For an ideal liquid which is in a streamline flow, though second condition is here, for the steady flow, for a streamline flow, the sum of all these three types of energy, means, or simple you can say it, the sum of energy per unit mass of all these three types of energy is same for all points in a cross sectional area for all the particles. Simple, clear? Means simply this quantity will be always conserved, and it is the concept of simple Bernoulli theorem, which is energy per unit mass will be constant. Okay, and we will prove it just later. So I think this statement is normally clear to you. That's why I have calculated pressure energy per unit mass earlier, and potential energy per unit mass, kinetic energy per unit mass, so that we can easily use that in the proof of this. So I think there is no confusion. First is that there are two conditions for ideal liquid, and second is that it means that there is no dissipation of energy takes place. Ideal liquid means simply that liquid is not losing its any types of energy in other process, like in the process of heat or in other things. It is not losing any energy. Only there are three types of energy, which is pressure energy, potential energy, and kinetic energy, and there is no loss of energy is taking place. So that's why ideal liquid means for ideal liquid and which is flowing in streamline flow. So the two conditions are here. Also for turbulent flow, this condition will be not followed. So for streamline flow or steady flow, this is the condition. Then all these three energies per unit mass will be constant for the cross-sectional area which is taken. So let's see what is the proof and how can we prove it. So let's see that. So let's see how to prove Bernoulli theorem. For this, I have taken a cross-sectional area of the tube. Don't go to its size. Simple. If these are two cross-section of any tube or tip, and here this point A and this point is B. Here pressure is P1 and here the pressure is P2. Suppose that which is the liquid flowing have the same density at both points, and the density is rho simply, and the velocity of liquid entering here at point A is V1 and leaving the point B is V2, and simply cross sectional area of here, suppose that this is small a1 and here is small a2, and also this pipe is at the height h1 and this is at the height cross sectional area h2, means point A is at the height of h1 and point B is at h2. So due to that height, you know that there will be the arrangement of potential energy. Also due to the motion of simple due to motion there will be kinetic energy, and obviously due to pressure there will be pressure energy. So we can easily calculate all of them from here. So simple as the cross sectional area is here greater, or you know that simple pressure at smaller height is greater than the larger height, then definitely P1 is greater than P2. I think this is clear to you, simple, because liquid is entering here and liquid is leaving here, and where liquid is entering, where there the pressure is more than the leaving. Yeah, so that's why that is also the region. According to you know that equation of continuity, which is tells us that the mass of liquid entering at any cross section will be equal to mass of leaving from any other cross section, and if there is no loss of mass is taken between these two cross sections. Simple. So we can also calculate mass of liquid. Simple. The same amount of mass of liquid is entering and leaving, so that will be m. And simple from the equation of continuity we can write it, as you know that the equation of continuity is rho1 a1 b1 equal to rho2 a2 v2. So simple here rho is the same for both, so rho a1 b1 equal to rho a2 v2 equal to m, or we can write here a1 b1 equal to a2 v2 equal to m by rho, and also we can say volume v. So I think this is clear to you. Also you know that the area of cross section here is greater than the area of cross section here, a1 is greater than a2, then definitely v1 will be less than v2, means velocity here will be greater than that. So now let's see how to calculate pressure energy, potential energy and kinetic energy. So we can calculate what will be the force exerted here due to this pressure. So at point A, force will be simple, that will be P1 into A1, clear? Pressure into area. Or we can also obviously if there is an application of force, then this force will do some work to enter or to displace the liquid, and that work done per second will be equal to P1 A1 by simple work done. If you want to calculate, then P1 A1 simple. If I want to tell you, then you don't have to write it. you can also simply, in very simple way, you can write P1 A1 B1. Clear? I don't think so you have to even write it there. Simple. You know that work is force into displacement. So if you know that displacement, then you can write it F1 into S. And also I am taking the force work done per unit time, per second. So displacement upon time will be the velocity. So we can easily write it. Actually there is no lot of space, so that's why I think that. So I think now this is clear to you. Simple. P1 A1 B1. And also you know the value of A1 B1 from here, that is B. So we can write P1 into B. Clear? Similarly, at point B we can calculate what will be the work done per second. In the similar manner, we will calculate F2 here, that will be P2 into A2. And again, if we will calculate work done per unit time, then it will be P2 A2 into V2. And A2 into V2, value of A2 into V2 is equal to V. So at point B, again work done per second will be, if I want to write it W1 W2, that will comes to P2 into V. So as you are seeing that there is a difference in the work done. So due to that, the difference is that work done is used to as simple is known as the pressure energy. As already I have told you that if at 2 points there are different pressures, and due to that pressure difference they exert a final force to B, and simply on the application of that force or due to application of that force there will be some displacement of fluid is taken if we connected it to any tank. So due to that displacement obviously there will be some work. So that work done per unit time will be finally, that will be per time or pressure energy. Simple pressure energy per unit second or simple actually per unit second बोलने की जरूरत नहीं, per second or per unit time will be equal to P1V minus P2V. I think this is simply clear to you. Here work done is P1 into V, here work done is P2 into V. And if we want to know what is the pressure energy, then we have to simply take the difference of these two work dones, and that work done will appear in the form of pressure energy to displace any liquid. Okay, so this will be the work done or simple pressure energy per second, and the value of it will be P1 minus P2 into V. So we simply calculated the pressure energy in this way. So simply we have calculated work done or net work done on this fluid from entering and to leaving point, and this is the pressure energy, or simple we can say it net work done per second, and that is on the fluid. Okay. So now let's calculate what will be the potential energy at this point and at this point, and that difference in potential energy means simple there is increase in potential energy. As you know that here, sorry for that, here height is h1 and this the point is at h2 height, then definitely there will be greater potential energy than this point. So there will be increase in potential energy, and how much extent it will increase we can calculate easily. Simple, at A potential energy will be, we can calculate easily m into mg h1, clear, and at B it will be mg h2. So what will be final simple potential energy per second? Actually I am mining here potential energy per second, and that will comes to be potential energy per second, that will comes to be mg h2 minus h1. I think now this is clear to you. Simple potential, the concept of potential energy is very simple. If there is difference in height of the tube, then definitely there will be the change in potential energy takes place from entering to leaving point, and since the height of this point is more than this point, so definitely there will be increase in potential energy takes place, and that increase in potential energy will be equal to mg h2 minus h1. Clear? Similarly, we can also find what will be the kinetic energy per second, or if there as you know that V1 is less than the V2. I've already told you that simple from the equation of continuity. So if V1 is less than V2, then definitely here the kinetic energy will be greater than that of here. So there will also increase in kinetic energy at by from moving A to B. Okay. So let's see what is the kinetic energy at A. Simple kinetic energy at A will be half m V1 square. Also here also I am taking kinetic energy per second. I want to determine that only. So kinetic energy per second will be half m V1 square at point A, and at point B it will be half m V2 square. So if we will take the change in these kinetic energy, then we will get what will be the increase in kinetic energy from moving from point A to B. Clear? So there is increase in kinetic energy, this increase in potential energy is this, and we have already pressure energy per second is this. So as you know that already you know the one thing, for the streamline flow the net work done is equal to the total increase in kinetic energy and potential energy. So we can easily write an equation from these observations, and that will be net work done per second equal to increase in kinetic energy per second plus increase in potential energy per second. Okay? So net work done per second is also equal to pressure energy per second, and that's the value of that is P1V minus P2V. That will be equal to increase in kinetic energy per second is half m V2 square minus half m V1 square plus increase in potential energy is mg H2 minus mg H1. Clear? We can also arrange them in a manner like P1B plus half m V1 square plus mg H1 equal to P2V plus half m V2 square plus mg H2. The factor related to point 1 is one side, the factor related to point B on two side. It means that in summarized way you can also see that these three energies per unit per second is equal to from at point A is equal to at point B. For the statement of Bernoulli, as it is per unit mass, so let's determine per unit mass here. So for per unit mass we have to divide simply it by this. That will be GH1 equal to P2V upon M plus half V2 square plus G H2. Clear? We can also write V by M. We can easily write it M by V equal to rho here. So that will comes to be P1 by rho plus half V1 square plus GH1 equal to, again here there will be P2 by rho plus half V2 square plus GH2. Clear? In general way we can write it P by rho plus half V square plus GH, that will comes to be constant. This is the statement of Bernoulli theorem. Simple. Pressure energy per unit mass plus kinetic energy per unit mass plus potential energy per unit mass means sum of all these energies per unit mass is a constant quantity, means at 2 points the sum of their energies per unit mass will be equal. As you know that this is the potential energy per pressure energy per unit mass at point A plus This is kinetic energy per unit mass at point A. This is potential energy per unit mass at point A. Means at point A, this is the sum of all these three energies per unit mass, and this is the sum of all these three energies at per unit mass at point B. These are equal. It means that in general this will be the constant. Means for streamline flow, for ideal liquid, if there is no dissipation of energy takes place, then these three energies per unit mass will be always constant. So this is the statement of Bernoulli theorem, and now I think the proof is clear to you. Simple. We had to calculate these three energies only. So after calculating that energy, simply we have to sum that. Okay. So if this is clear to you, then I will tell you there's something more. So now let's see some other forms of Bernoulli theorem. As you know that the simple Bernoulli theorem is that pressure energy per unit mass plus potential energy per unit mass plus simple kinetic energy per unit mass will be a constant. Means sum of these three energies per unit mass will be constant. Now we can simply divide this by G. We will get P by rho G plus here H plus half V square by G, and that will again comes to the another constant, because at a certain point if you will measure G, then definitely there will be comes to the some constant value. So this factor is known as P upon rho G is known as pressure head, this is known as gravitational head, and this is known as velocity head. So in other terms, if we want to state Bernoulli theorem, then that is simply the pressure head, the sum of pressure head, gravitational head and velocity head always constant for ideal liquid in streamline flow. Simple. If any ideal liquid is flowing in a streamline or in a steady way, then simply sum of these three heads, pressure head, gravitational head and velocity head, will be always constant. So this is the another form of Bernoulli theorem. We can also state Bernoulli theorem in this form. Okay. So now let's see the second form. We can also state it in one another form. So let's see that. Second condition is that if flow of liquid in horizontal tube, means if tube is like in this way, so definitely there will be same height of the point AB. So there will be no increase in potential energy. The increase in potential energy will be 0. So definitely we can remove these terms from here, and finally we will get Bernoulli theorem as P by rho plus half V square equal to constant, or in another term we can write it in this way. From this term it is clear that if we will increase pressure, then there will be decrease in velocity takes place, and if we will decrease velocity, then there will be increase in pressure takes place. Simple. So I think this is simply clear to you. This is also a form of Bernoulli theorem. This pressure is known as static pressure, this pressure is known as dynamic pressure. As this pressure will arise due to the position or height, this pressure is arise due to the motion. This is known as static and dynamic pressure. So simple, the sum of static and dynamic pressure for an ideal liquid in streamline flow for a horizontal tube is always constant. So there are three different statements regarding to the Bernoulli theorem, and the main statement is simply this one, and we can also analyze other statements from this. So I think now Bernoulli theorem is clear. Again I have told you that simple, and I am again telling you Bernoulli theorem only verified for streamline flow for ideal liquid. If there is no loss of any types of liquid, means there is no loss of pressure energy or kinetic energy or potential energy in other form. So in that condition, the sum of these will be constant. So let's see what are the limitations of Bernoulli theorem. Means in which condition Bernoulli theorem will be followed, or in which condition it will be followed. So let's see that. So now let's see what are the limitations of Bernoulli theorem. As I have already told you that in Bernoulli theorem, as we are taking ideal liquid, then definitely we are assuming that there is no loss of energy, means no loss of any kinds of energy takes place within that cross section in which we are deriving it. Simple. It means that if all these three factors are to be constant, there will be no loss of energy. That's why the word ideal liquid we have assigned in the statement. Second is that this theorem is verified for streamlined flow, as in statement this is also clear. For turbulent flow this will not be followed. Reason is that in the turbulent flow there will be some loss of energy, means loss of kinetic energy or potential energy, or any loss of energy takes place due to the random motion, due to the turbulent motion of the fluid. So definitely if there will be loss, then these three quantities will not be constant at every point if you will measure. Okay. Third is that in this derivation we have taken that the velocity of liquid at any point in the cross section is constant, means it has uniform velocity, fluid has uniform velocity for any cross section. As you know that practically it is not correct. The velocity of central layer is maximum, and the velocity of layer which is in touch with the tube has least velocity. So in this derivation we should take, I think, mean velocity for the derivation. So this is also a limitation of this. Also one more thing is here in the derivation we haven't take the quality of viscosity or property of viscosity of fluid, and we totally denied the concept of viscous drag due to the motion of, if simply there will be motion, then definitely there will be some viscous drag in the opposite of this motion. Means we neglected that internal resistance or that viscous force, means property of viscosity of the fluid here. So these are all the limitations. It means simply the ideal liquid means is simple is that there is no viscosity, means there is no internal force which is opposing the velocity of the motion of fluid, and second is that there will be no loss of heat or energy takes place. So it means that for the real fluids it is not applicable. It will be applicable if all these limitations will follow, or for the smaller cross section of for the tube. Okay. But at least Bernoulli theorem helps us in so many daily life applications, like in sprays and sprayer we use it, oil paint sprayer and other we easily apply this theorem there, and with the help of this theorem we have used that. Also we made our home like in this shape, where the large storms is always occur. So to prevent our house from that storm, using this theorem we can easily design our house in the way. I will tell you later what is the application of Bernoulli. I'm only using, I want to tell you that Bernoulli theorem is where it is important. Also we have an instrument based on the Bernoulli theorem which is known as Venturi meter, and that Venturi meter is actually used to measure simply the pressure of fluid and other things. So you can use that in the so many ways, like if a ball is spinning, then it will follow curve path, and why it follows curve path we can explain with, that is called Magnus effect. So Magnus effect can also be explained on the basis of Bernoulli theorem. So all these applications of Bernoulli theorem I will tell you later one by one. So first I think limitations are clear to you. One word is that here only streamline flow and ideal liquid. And ideal liquid means there is no viscosity or viscous drag of the fluid taken place, and there is no loss of heat or energy is taken. And also the cross section we have taken that we can also take their mean velocity of the layers. If velocity distribution is taken place, then we can take that. So I think now this is clear to you. Definitely. So let's end the class here. Tomorrow we will study what is the application of Bernoulli theorem, what is Torselley experiment, and other things I will tell you tomorrow that. So let's end the class here. Thank you.